Does Wing Chun work? Perhaps no martial art has been dominated as much as Wing Chun. Wing Chun practitioners often make the most claims while having the least amount of evidence to back it up. But why is it so popular when so much of its technique is useless? And does its popularity mean that there's some utility for modern day MMA? After all, the story of Wing Chun is as legendary as it gets. You see, the legend of Wing Chun was that it came from Ing Mui, one of the 5 legendary generals of the Shaolin Temple. Then one day Ing Mui took in a very beautiful disciple named Ying Wing Chun and taught her a new martial art. Due to Yim's beauty, many men tried to force her to marry them, but she used the martial art to defeat them when they got aggressive. From her ability to fight, Yim's future husband called the art Wing Chun Kun, meaning the fist of Wing Chun. Also credited as the inventor of Chi Sao, aka the sticky hands, the legend was born. From there, the art passed through many students before eventually coming to Ip Man and then Bruce Lee. But how did something so legendary end up so ineffective? Fight fans, welcome back to another episode of Lawrence Kenshin Striking Breakdowns. In this episode, we explore prolific examples of why some Wing Chun fighters get destroyed. No doubt the popularity of Wing Chun was due to Bruce Lee and Ip Man. Being a student of Ip Man, Bruce Lee made Kung Fu popular worldwide. Because of this, Wing Chun as a martial art has proliferated until now. But the truth is, Wing Chun is one of the least effective traditional martial arts in the world, and this fact has been historically brought to light. Search across YouTube and you'll find plenty of Wing Chun representatives fighting in challenge matches. The matches are all so low level that it's difficult to watch a lot of them. However, due to the extreme popularity of the Ip Man movies, many untrained people still think it works. Sometimes people even think it works against fighters like Mike Tyson. In China, Xu Xiaodong famously challenged many Kung Fu and Wing Chun masters who made bold claims. With just a bit of kickboxing and MMA training, he easily beat all of them. The truth is that Wing Chun doesn't work, and the main reason is because most of the students do not actually spar. In some surveys, only 5 to 10% of Wing Chun students spar. This is why Bruce Lee departed from Wing Chun and invented Jeet Kune Do, famously critiquing Wing Chun by saying that people cannot learn to swim on dry land. The fact is, a martial artist cannot learn to fight without actually fighting. Likewise, a martial art cannot improve its theories based on evidence if its practitioners never test themselves. That is, a system can never self-correct and improve if it stays theoretical. This is why MMA, which has some similar principles to Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, was the catalyst to what's now the golden era of martial arts. Wing Chun failed to adapt because, like many traditional martial arts, it relied heavily on the compliance of a partner in training. But on top of that, nearly all of its core stances and principles are technical sins in martial arts that actually proved effective in real fights. For example, Wing Chun's punches rely on speed but fail to produce meaningful power. There's no rotation involved, which really means it's pure arm punches. While this might work on an untrained and unathletic individual, a skilled fighter will walk through these punches and easily land a knockout blow. In other words, against a skilled opponent, Wing Chun punches are a complete waste of energy. You see, Wing Chun's lack of ability to produce meaningful power in a strike comes from their stance. Their stance is both tall and narrow, making the stance weak. Everything is positioned so that they can throw fast punches down the center line, but in standing like this, their face is completely exposed. The classic Wing Chun stances and foot positioning makes them immobile for both attacking and defense. Ip Man even wanted you to train the horse stance where the knees point inward. The claim is that you can pivot easily without an adjustment to the legs or feet, but it's terrible mechanics for the knee and ankle. This position will make the legs incredibly vulnerable for an attack, whether it's a low kick or side kick. In the field of physiotherapy, they will call this stance knock knees, meaning it's a dysfunction of unstable knees that easily lead to future injuries. But most importantly, the entire body becomes vulnerable for an attack because the foundation is weak. The legacy of a martial art is determined by its students. and only a few Wing Chun practitioners have dared to step up to fight. One fighter in China named Li Zihao did, and he was completely ineffective with his striking. The way he won the match against an unskilled opponent was by using a common sweep seen in Muay Thai and Sanda, followed by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Many Wing Chun enthusiasts say that Li Zihao is not a good representative of Wing Chun. But here's the problem, no one is. Even people in Wing Chun are still searching for a good representative. Every representative who dared to fight failed to implement Wing Chun effectively. Whereas Taekwondo at least had some fighters competing against high-level opponents. Wing Chun couldn't even make it past the amateur fighters. The only fights that Wing Chun ever wins against are completely unskilled opponents. People who clearly have little to no training in any battle-tested martial arts. Some people will refer to Anderson Silva and Tony Ferguson training Wing Chun. However, the problem is that Anderson Silva already won all of his UFC titles before he ever started training Wing Chun for fun. He has already mastered all the martial arts that work, and he just simply loves to dabble and try out new things. Then there's Tony Ferguson, who landed a bunch of hand trap elbows on Anthony Pettis. The problem is, Muay Thai already did this historically in literally millions of fights. Neither elite MMA fighters can be credited for being a Wing Chun representative for briefly showing elements of Wing Chun. After all the effective elements of Wing Chun is in other martial arts, but the vice versa is not true. Now, is there a little bit of utility from Wing Chun? Yes, some principles are good. For example, controlling the center line is a popular concept in all striking arts. Doing so puts the striker at an advantage. However, Wing Chun's methods to control the center line are the most flawed out of all the major martial arts. Being able to control an opponent's hands, such as what Chi Sao advocates, exists in boxing, Muay Thai and kickboxing in the form of parrying and clinching. The problem with Chi Sao is that it is again unrealistic. No actual fight plays out with two people sticking their arms to each other floating around in the air. Other good principles include using the opponent's strength against them, but that's really the aim of all effective martial arts. Wing Chun advocates following an opponent who is retreating, but that's also just sensible strategy against a flustered opponent. Overall, it's very hard to point out the benefits of Wing Chun for application against trained fighters in effective martial arts. I say all this with great sadness as a person from Chinese heritage. While I find the Ip Man movie super entertaining to watch, I cannot stand by the proliferation of ridiculous martial art techniques. No, Wing Chun hasn't worked in the ring not because it's too lethal like so many of its practitioners claim, but because it is too ineffective. Against untrained people, it is better than nothing. However, with the popularity of martial arts that make MMA today, suggesting to train it would be bad advice. If you want to implement some Wing Chun techniques, after mastering the evidence-based martial arts, it could have utility. But without it, it is one of the most BS martial arts that a martial artist could ever train. Yes, that is a harsh truth if you're a believer of Wing Chun, but it is more important to believe in the evidence. The four pillars of MMA, boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are the martial arts that have the most evidence. If you enjoyed this episode, please support us by watching another one. I'm Lawrence Kenshin, and thank you for keeping our channel alive.